Yeah.
And so at the beginning of the podcast, we sort of teased why we're doing this podcast together. And so it got me thinking like early days of Modern People Leader. And it's been 4.5 years. We
Wow.
started the podcast in
Crazy.
December of 2020. I think we initially had the idea for the podcast in like maybe May or June of 2020. And I remember we went through this exercise where Steven was like, we need to have a mission statement, like come up with a mission statement. And I wrote down, improve the lives of 10 million employees by 2030. And then I remember
that's
Steven, in classic Steven fashion, was like, no, we need to think bigger. 100 million employees. So he immediately crosses it out in the doc and updates it. And we're laughing about it, but like we truly believe that we could do that. We believed it then. We believe it now. Obviously, we have more people that are listening to the show today, and we still have a ways to go. But if we can reach 100,000 HR leaders through the podcast and help them do their job just a little bit better, I think that, that makes a big impact on their people. And so the show is great and it gives people big ideas. We have people come on and give expert advice, but we feel like sometimes it's a little bit surface level and we can break these big ideas down and go 4, 5, 6, 7 levels deeper. And so that's why we're really excited to launch MPL Academy. And this is going to be a place where we create tools, guides, resources for HR leaders. And our goal is to team up with people like you on the areas that matter the most, especially the things that are really hard to get right, like running your people team like a product team. And so we thought that we would start with the foundation, how teams are run. And so for everybody listening, that's why we've partnered with Jessie. Not only is she helping us with MPL Academy, but she's actually going to be our first content expert with something we're calling MPL Build. And I know it makes you very uncomfortable to hear, Jessie, but we both think that you're a genius. And I love seeing that uncomfortable face every time we say it. But it's the truth. Yeah, put the glasses back on. And so I won't go too deep into the details now, but we are going to make a big announcement here in the next few weeks related to what we're calling MPL Build. So if you want to be the first to know, we'll drop a link in the show notes to sign up for the waitlist. And as soon as it's live, we will let you know. And so that's the story from the Modern People Leader side on why we're launching MPL Academy and why we're partnering with Jessie to be our co-founder on Academy, but also to help us build out like our first cohort program. Oh, sorry, I might be getting ahead of myself, but sorry,
Well,
Steven,
no,
what were you going to say?
I was just going to add one like cool anecdote about the story. And that is, and you were mentioning this, Daniel, that like I was like, we need to scale. Like, the only way we're going to hit 100 million employees' lives and make an impact is we can have like, the podcast is great, but to Daniel's point, like there are some limitations. So we like immediately, as you'll find with us, Jessie, there's no shortage of ideas. And with like an asset like the Modern People Leader, like there's a lot of things that we could do. And so we had a bunch of ideas, but it was like we were paralyzed by the number of things that were possible. So we go through this prioritization matrix because Daniel and I are both data nerds and very structured in the way that we work and move things forward, as you found out. And so we go through this whole prioritization exercise, and the top thing that that was number one on both of our lists were a cohort-based kind of learning, a cohort or asset-based learning program, but just resources for people leaders. Like that was number one. And we fast forward to last year, we're at MPL Live, the first MPL Live. And Jessie, we invited you to come chat. Like it was relevant to the topic. And I think we grabbed a drink or like we, just kind of like touch base. And you were like, I've got this idea. And I think you guys would be a good partner. I think MPL would be a good partner. And Daniel and I were like shitting ourselves because we had already gone through this rigorous like assessment of like, what are the products that we could launch? What is the market potential in this metric and that data point? And number one on our list, here we are, meeting with someone who's like, hey, would you like to do this? And so it was just like a cool universe story that I wanted to share before we moved on.